Hello, and thank you for joining us on the show that goes around the continent to bring you stories near and far. I am Bukola Koka at Channels Television here in Lagos, and I'm joined by Vincent Makori from Voice of America in Washington, D.C.
Well, thanks. I'm Vincent Makori at the Voice of America. Happy to be with you again for another edition of Africa 54. Let's start off with the latest from Nigeria. Channels Television brings you that story.
The Yobe State government, in partnership with Street Child and Peace Community Development Initiative, has trained 650 out-of-school adolescent girls under its funded program, Education Cannot Wait. The adolescent girls, who are between the ages of 14 and 17, were identified across 4 local government areas of Damaturu. They dropped out of school due to lack of sponsorship.
According to the United Nations Children's Fund report, about 60% of out-of-school children in Nigeria are girls who, after their primary or junior secondary school education, either get married or engage in hawking on the streets. The Yobe State government says the out-of-school children data is around 400,000, but is still not satisfied with the decrease, as it is working tirelessly to further reduce the number.
Although this number can be disputable, because when you talk of out-of-school children, you consider other institutions that also have children studying.
A non-governmental organization, Street Child and Yobe Peace Community Development Initiative, is supporting the training of 650 out-of-school adolescent girls on skills acquisition. The trained girls, who were pulled from the streets of 4 local government areas of the state, are presented with starter packs.
Basically, the project looks at supporting education outcome through livelihood empowerment to adolescent girls, most vulnerable adolescent girls within the targeted communities of implementation. This project was implemented in 4 LGAs, Damaturu, Kujiba, Potisku, and Badi, reaching almost about 650 beneficiaries with skill empowerment, 3-month intensive skill requirement training, and at the end of the day, we are here to celebrate the flag up of the distribution of the startup pack.
The representative of the state coordinator, National Directorate of Employment, who trains the girls, applauds the gesture by the government and the group.
I advise them to utilize this opportunity. I know definitely there is a lot of challenge ahead. It's not only the training and getting the starter pack. No, it's not only this one. So I even advise the organizers that indeed we are ready. We can organize life skills training, entrepreneurship, and financial literacy education for these beneficiaries, and we can provide business support services for them. Then at the end, when we are monitoring them, if maybe they will need again another support, there's a scheme in India we call Micro Enterprise Enhancement Scheme. We used to give 20,000, 50,000 for this small enterprise. We can support them.
The government and the groups have also put mechanisms in place that would monitor the business of the beneficiaries to ensure that the starter packs donated are not sold.
And joining us to discuss the current plight of the 650 out-of-school adolescent girls in Yobe State, well, of course, amongst other issues, is the Commissioner for Basic and Secondary Education, Professor Abba Adam. Hello and welcome to Africa 54, Professor.
Welcome, and thank you for having me.
Indeed. Let's start this way. Yobe State, of course, is one of the states in the country that has the largest number of out-of-school children, and most of them are adolescent girls. What is the government doing to address this situation?
Thank you so much. The problem of out-of-school children is actually a complex one in Nigeria with multifaceted causes. According to UNICEF, in Nigeria, we have about 18.5 million children out of school. And there are so many social, economic, and educational factors responsible for that. However, to address this matter, we need to have a comprehensive approach that will tackle the root cause and provide sustainable solution to that. That is why in Yobe State, His Excellency Honorable Member Labuni has taken bold steps in order to address this situation. Number one, Yobe State education, primary and secondary education, is completely free. So no child is paying anything from primary school to junior secondary school up to primary secondary school. So by the time these students are completing their secondary school, even the registration of WAEC and NECO are completely paid by the state government. Secondly, we are also having a kind of improving the gender equality in our system so that the number of out-of-school children would be reduced, and these children with special needs, they will never feel segregated they will join their colleagues and learn together in the same class because of the facilities that these schools are going to provide for them.
I wonder if the Education Cannot Wait program is taking more giant strides in reducing that number. I'd like you to speak to that, as well as tell us exactly what this training that has been offered the 650 girls is all about. And we also saw in that report that they have been presented with kits. What's inside that kit?
Cannot Wait is one of the development partners in Yobe State that are, complementing the effort of the state government. We have from the age of 6 to 12, these are given what is called accelerated basic education program, and then they will later be mainstreamed into the formal school. And most of them have even written their junior WAEC or junior secondary school certificate examination. And those above 12, they have no chance of going back to the formal school, so they will be trained and they will be given skills so that they will have what they can depend and they can be self-employed so that they will not be roaming the street and become, easy to be recruited by bad elements. So at the end of the day, Education Cannot Wait and so many other development partners are complementing the effort of His Excellency, Honorable Maimala Buni, in order to make sure that the number of out-of-school children in Yobe State has been reduced to the barest minimum.
So is Education Cannot Wait taking up the responsibility for the entirety of their secondary education? And I doubt if you have answered what's inside that kit that they were presented with.
Actually, what are kind of skills that they were trained, because when you train somebody and give him a particular skill, the kit that you are going to give him will contain whatever that he needs in that particular skill that is acquired. For example, if they are trained in a particular, for example, like sewing or anything that has to do with this making soap and so many things that can be done domestically at home, this is what the kit has contained.
Yobe State is yet to domesticate the Child Rights Act. So are there cultural issues of religion that is encouraging child marriage, that is also contributing to the high number of adolescent girls and maybe boys dropping out of school in Yobe State? And what is the government doing about it?
Well, before I answer your question, I think it would be good to remind you that it is not just primary and junior secondary school, but there are so many factors responsible for adolescent girls withdrawing or dropping out of school. Number one, we have insecurity and conflict. This insecurity, Yobe State is just recovering from the insurgency, Yobe State Boko Haram insurgency, where these female children have suffered a lot. Most of them are the breadwinners of their family. So what we are doing at the state level is that if they cannot come to school, we take the school to them. We are making the school hours to be flexible. If, for example, they can go and work in the morning, in the afternoon and evening, we take the school to them. Some people believe that by the time you give your daughter in marriage, number one, the responsibility of taking care of her will now be transferred to the husband. Secondly, they believe that her husband's house is the final destination for her. However, all these negative cultures are now being tackled through various means, as I said earlier, through enlightenment campaign and advocacy to the emirs, who are the key stakeholders in the state.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor Adams. So many more areas to cover, but we must anchor at this point. But with the hope that Yobe State will show example by domesticating the Child Rights Act. It's been more than 2 decades since the introduction of the Child Rights Act. Perhaps, this would go a long way to ending some of the cultural issues that also, contribute to the cases of school dropouts in Yobe State, particularly for the girl child. We've been speaking with Professor Adam, who is the Commissioner for Education in Yobe State. Thank you so much for your time on the program.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54, and check out our headlines 24/7 on viewafrica.com. After the break, female genital mutilation continues to endanger millions of girls and women in Somalia, despite global efforts to stop the practice. Welcome back to Africa 54. I'm Vincent McCory in Washington. Despite global efforts to stop the practice of female genital mutilation, the harmful tradition continues to affect the lives and health of millions of women and girls in Somalia. Reporter Najib Ahmed has this story from the capital, Mogadishu, narrated by Anthony Labruto.
This 17-year-old girl lives with her family in a camp for the internally displaced in Mogadishu. She says she is the victim of female genital mutilation, or FGM, a harmful traditional practice defined by the World Health Organization as the partial or total removal of the external female genitalia for non-medical reasons. Since the procedure at 12 years old, she has lived with persistent pain, health problems, and emotional trauma. She chose to speak to VOA anonymously because she fears backlash for speaking about a taboo topic.
I went through a lot of pain, lost a lot of blood because of excessive bleeding, and suffered from recurring infections, which still gives me nightmares. I hope my sisters will not undergo the pain I went through.
FGM persists in Somalia because of the common belief that uncut girls and women are promiscuous, unclean, and physically undesirable. The United Nations says that 98% of Somali girls and women ages 15 to 49 have undergone some form of FGM. Midwife Shamsa Ali Mohammed performed FGM for over 20 years, but now she is one of the many women fighting to end the practice, which she calls circumcision. The United Nations Population Fund, or UNFPA, discourages the use of the term, pointing out that female circumcision is a violation of human rights and a much different procedure from male circumcision.
We used to circumcise a lot of girls, but we have now stopped the practice since IFRA Foundation trained us. We now raise awareness against FGM as it hurts women and girls, and many are suffering during labor because of this harmful practice.
IFRA Foundation is a non-profit working to end FGM in Somalia. Its founder, Somali-Irish social activist Ifra Mohammed, says her organization's engagement have persuaded hundreds of people to pledge not to practice any form of FGM.
I don't want people to see me just interfering to the community, so we trained all the leaders, religious leaders, women's group, authorities in districts. So we allowed them to start the conversation and build the dialogue about female genital mutilation.
Another organization, SASA Together, aims to mobilize the community and also aims to abolish FGM. Mohammed Mursal is a UNFPA program specialist who works with SASA Together.
As an organization, we are fighting to eradicate FGM in Somalia by closely working with the government of Somalia, especially the Minister of Family Affairs, to come up with a legal framework that criminalizes FGM in Somalia.
Although the Somali constitution prohibits FGM and describes it as cruel and degrading, no national law exists that criminalizes the practice. Anti-FGM activists say that unless that happens, girls and women will continue to suffer. For Najib Ahmed in Mogadishu, Somalia, Anthony Labruto, VOA News.
Europe is not the only continent in the world where twins are celebrated. Let's take you on a trip to Africa, Iwora in Oyo State, southwest Nigeria, to be precise, that part of the world known for multiple births. Now, I assure you, this will have you seeing double.
Music, laughter, dance steps, matching outfits, and most importantly, participants with duplicate facial features. You guessed right, twins. It's all part of celebrations to mark the annual Twins Festival in the Nigerian southwestern town of Iwora, Oyo State. The 5-day event showcases the unique bond between twins as they parade in matching attires.
For the past years, I could remember like 3 years or 4 years ago, we recorded 2,334 set of twins in this same field there in Iwora. So like 4 years ago. So
twins are common in the Yoruba ethnic group that dominates southwest Nigeria. A 1970 study by a British gynecologist found that around 50 sets of twins were born out of every 1,000 births in the southwest.
From 1972 to 1982, the southwest of Nigeria recorded an average of 45 to 50 set of twins per 1,000 births.
Even among Yoruba people, the Igbora is considered exceptional, with at least one twin birth in every family. However, some participants wish the event is recognized internationally.
I'll be quite honest, it's a bit disappointing that the event is not as global as it should be. And that is because when we look at it, Igbora is actually the twin capital of the world. They have the highest rate of twins than any other way on earth. So I would expect it to have more publicity, more, publicity and tourist attraction than we have here.
For some young stars, it's their first time attending the festival.
This is actually my first time being here, and it is so fun, and it's creative. It's so interesting to be doing culture and celebrating our birth. But sometimes I usually feel shy.
Locals believe the high rate of twin births is linked with okra leaf and amala, a local dish made from yam and cassava flour. However, research by some doctors suggests genetic factors are more likely responsible.
A South African media outlet called Oxpeckers focuses on saving the environment. For VOA, Kate Bartlett spoke to some of its journalists about what drives and challenges them as they report on people and practices that can hurt the planet.
Thabo Malulekwa was a news junkie from a young age. He recalls how growing up, he used to beg his dad to let him watch a current affairs show that aired way past his bedtime.
I told myself that one day I will be a journalist and I will help the communities. And up to now, the stories that I write, I make sure that there must be some kind of action or some kind of answers that comes from the policyholders, the people in the government.
As an award-winning reporter with Oxpeckers Investigative Environmental Journalism, a media outlet headquartered in South Africa, he does exactly that, at some risk.
In the stories that I do find officials hiding information from me. And when I go to dig deeper, some of the people will say, please, you can publish this, but anonymously. That shows you that here there is some kind of danger, something is being hidden.
He remembers reporting on illegal mining at an abandoned gold mine in Johannesburg.
We tried to get some footage, but we were told that here, guys, you can be shot. And we don't want to go next to those people because there are powerful people that they are working for. You ask for an interview, you are dead.
But he keeps reporting, saying the issues he covers are crucial to people in impoverished communities who don't have a voice. And Oxpeckers' stories do make a difference. An investigation into mining near a major water source in South Africa brought change.
And there were plans by a mining company to mine coal. We reported on that, and that has resulted in a lot of changes around policy and laws relating to mining and how it should operate.
Oxpeckers relies on cutting-edge technology combined with boots-on-the-ground reporting to expose environmental offences and track perpetrators.
We've also used a range of other tools that include satellites, drones, and various multimedia tools. So we combine geojournalism, data journalism, and these other new media tools with traditional investigative journalistic techniques.
Oxpeckers' website includes mapping and data sets on mining, wildlife crime, timber issues, renewable energy, and more. While focused on Southern Africa, the non-profit has expanded its network to Asia and Europe. Many of these stories focus on wildlife crimes involving endangered African species like rhinos and pangolins. Again, oxpecker's stories have proved consequential. McLeod says its reporting has led to the prosecution of a number of trafficking kingpins. Kate Bartlett, VOA News, Duduza Township, South Africa.
Loyiso Manga has been producing Ubuntu olive oil since 2019. What's remarkable about his enterprise? Is it that it's one of the few black-owned companies in the olive industry in South Africa? Let's find out.
Fed up with his call center job, Loyiso Manga set his sights on becoming one of South Africa's first black olive oil producers. He struggled to buy a farm because he could not secure funding, but eventually found a partner who supplies him with olive oil, which he blends into his own signature product. Manga's brand has started to take off, with bottles of his olive oil stocked by upmarket South African retailer Woolworths.
Part of the challenge is the slow or the lack of political will to say, here is a Loyiso. We know Loyiso's started this brand in 2019, but why are we not pushing this guy? Because this is what the dream of Nelson Mandela, transformation, and what our people want to get into.
He wants to see more support from the government so emerging black farmers can help broaden olive oil's appeal locally.
We don't have a warehouse nor a farm, but that just goes to prove that the market is there. We just need to now own the value chain.
South Africa's Western Cape province, with its Mediterranean climate, is ideal for olive farming, but it is a capital-intensive process, with farmers needing to wait for 4 to 5 years before their olive trees produce the yield needed for a harvest.
Loyiso is one of the black-owned companies we've got in the olive industry, and I really salute Loyiso for coming into an industry that is really white-dominated. It had to take a remarkable person to achieve what he's achieved. He's got a beautiful product. And we now, as an association, together with Loyiso and also the commercial farms and land bank, need to see how can we support Loyiso in getting access to land.
Experts say the heat waves across Europe have led to lower production volumes and increased the opportunity for farmers in South Africa, which they can tap with support from the government. South Africa imports about 5 to 6 million liters of olive oil every year. More locally produced olive oil will align with job creation and provide opportunities to expand the industry.
Well, according to Feeding America, a U.S. network of food banks, Americans waste about 41 billion kilograms of food every year. That's about 145 billion meals. But there are some new high-tech ways to make sure that food gets to people who need it. VOA's Valda Baraputri has more.
It's nighttime in Washington, and employees at Rasa, an Indian restaurant, are preparing takeout orders. But in a unique twist, the customers don't know what they're getting. They ordered based only on price, not on a specific menu item.
More of like the hot foods, especially some of the proteins, just aren't as fresh when you try to reheat them the next day. So they end up getting a little mix and match of those ingredients.
The food was ordered via a mobile app called Too Good To Go, which connects restaurants, cafes, and supermarkets with users who want to buy food, often close to its expiration date, at deeply discounted prices. This bowl from Rasa normally costs $10 to $13. Through the app, it costs $6.50. Vinod says the restaurant owners aren't making a lot of money on these orders, but that's better than throwing food away, and an added benefit, bringing in new customers.
We get a lot of first-time guests who actually find us by just opening the app and they're seeing what's nearby.
Too Good To Go started in Denmark in 2015, but now operates in Europe and North America. According to the company's vice president for North America, there are now around 8 million U.S. users.
We have a big group of users who really are putting food on the table for their families. And then we also have users who really love the unboxing nature of it.
But when food does have to be thrown away, there's an app for that as well. About 400 of these app-operated smart composting bins are in New York. They're being used to recycle old food and keep it out of landfills. The U.S. Department of Agriculture says about 1/3 of all edible food in the U.S. goes uneaten and into the garbage. Chris Macaulay from Too Good To Go says using or reusing as much of that edible but unused food must be a national goal.
It's not going to be purely a policy answer. It's not going to be purely businesses making changes, and it's not going to be simply consumers deciding to do something different. It's going to be that we make progress across all those fronts. And so, yes, I think that there's an opportunity for the government to continue to help push forward from a policy perspective.
Food waste isn't just a waste. Rotting food contributes to climate change by producing methane, one of the most potent greenhouse gases. Valdia Baraputri, VOA News, Washington.
Well, and that's our show for today. You can find all the continent's top news and world news online at voaafrica.com. Check it out. I'm Vincent McCory in Washington. Channels Television has our last word.
We look forward to bringing you another show next week, but do remember, channelstv.com is your source for news and other programming. I am Bukola Koka. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.